Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees. Please join us today in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 4, the 4 categories of annihilation. Please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Please join us for Mangalacharana prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet Shavatam Swakatha Kṛṣṇa Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto He Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir-uttam shloke bhaktir bhavti nashtiki. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th Canto, chapter 4, verse 1. Hare Krishna. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Drashtvatmani Jaya Vigrahan.
Different verse.
12 form. Oh, okay. Hare Krishna. How could that be different? Oh, sorry. I'm on the third chapter. Sorry. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, chapter 4, text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Kalaste Parmanadir.
Kalaste Parmanadir.
Dviparardhavadir Nipa.
Dviparardhavadir Nripa.
Kathito Yugamanam Cha.
Kathito Yugamanam Cha.
Shnu Kalpalayavapi.
Shinu Kalpalayavapi.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukdev Goswami. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Kalaha,
Kala,
time,
time,
te,
te,
to you,
to you,
param adu,
Paramanu,
the smallest fraction of time measured in terms of
the smallest fraction of time measured in terms of
the indivisible atom,
the indivisible atom,
Adihi,
Adi,
beginning with, Dvipara Ardha,
Dviparardha,
the two halves of Brahma's total lifespan,
the two halves of Brahma's total lifespan,
Avadhi,
Avadhi,
culmination in,
culminating in
Nripa,
Nripa,
O King Parikshit,
O King Parikshit,
Kathitaha,
Kathita
has been described, Yugamanam,
Yugmanam,
the duration of the millennium,
the duration of the millennium,
Cha,
Cha,
and
Shrinu,
now here, Kalpa,
Kalpa,
Brahma's day, Layao, annihilation, Api, also. By the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, My dear king, I have already described to you the measurements of time beginning from the smallest fraction measured by the movement of a single atom up to the total lifespan of Lord Brahma. I have also discussed the measurement of the different millennia of universal history. Now hear about the time of Brahma's day and the process of annihilation. Hare Krishna, there is no purport. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So it's a beautiful lesson, and when we hear about annihilation, the first thing we feel is like, oh, bad things are going to happen. Well, annihilation here in this particular chapter is only revealing the nature of this material world. Right? Now, we all understand what's the nature of a soul, like living entities, Jiva. Jivera Swarupoya Krishna Nityadas. That our constitutional position is that we are eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. What is the nature of our hand? It likes to accept things. Sometimes wants to give it also. Right? And what's the nature of our mind? It's constantly accepting and rejecting. So if we are smart, we know how to do it correctly. Smartavyo satatam Vishnu virsmartavyo na jatu chire sarve vidhi nishedasyu reva kinkara. So always remember Krishna, smartavyo satatam Vishnu. Always remember Krishna, vismartavyo na jatu chire. Never forget Krishna. Sarve vidhi nishedasyu. All the rules and regulations, they are just subservient to these two principles. Right? Kinkara. Etyor eva kinkara. They are just merely servants to these two principles. What are the two principles? Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Now, from this perspective, when we look at the same process of annihilation, all it's revealing is the process of transformation. So, the nature of this material world is always changing. And as Aristotle said, the only constant is change. Right? So, this we can directly apply. And change is a good thing at times when it is properly applied in Krishna consciousness, which actually reminds me of a very nice story. So there was this nice Scottish gentleman, and he wanted to become rich in life. So he took on a job. He finally got a job overseas in America. So he comes to America, right? And he is working. But on a Friday evening, he goes to a bar. So unfortunate state, but let's look at it from his perspective. He goes to a bar and he asks the bartender to serve him 3 pints of beer, 3 glasses of beer. So now the bartender, he serves him, but then he says, okay, you seem to be new. So he says, yes, I'm here from Scotland. So next week again, after another week, he goes back to the bar. And this time again he orders 3 glasses of beer. So the bartender serves him, but he says, you know what, maybe it is better that you ask for 1 glass and then take another, then take another, because it loses its flavor and other characteristics, so you cannot enjoy it. So that's the tendency, right? People are thinking of enjoying, in this world. So this man says, actually, let me tell you, we are 3 brothers. And we decided no matter where we are in the world, we will order 3 glasses and drink, so it will feel like that we are drinking it together. Now the bartender could appreciate this attitude of this gentleman. And so he said, okay. So every Friday evening, this Scottish gentleman, he would come to the bar and he orders 3 pints of beer, sits in the back of the bar, drinking his beer, remembering his brothers, and then he would go back home. This went on for quite some time. It became a regular routine. Now one day he came and he said, give me 2 glasses of beer. Now the bartender was surprised, but he didn't say anything. So he gave him 2 glasses of beer. He took those 2 glasses of beer, sat to the back of the bar, quietly drinking his 2 glasses of beer. And then he came to the bartender as he was leaving. So the bartender says, excuse me, I have a question for you. So this Scottish gentleman, he went and he said, yes, what's the question? So he said, which one is it? So the gentleman couldn't understand, what do you mean? He said, which one of your brother died? So this Scottish gentleman, he said, oh, no, my brother didn't die. I just happened to have met some Hare Krishna people, so I gave up drinking. Right? So it is very important to understand that it is a step in the right direction, but we have to, avoid rationalization, because we sometimes are using rational lies to justify our actions. But it's a step in the right direction. and he is reducing his drinking, and finally one day, by the mercy of Lord Krishna, he would give up drinking. So that's the important lesson. So annihilation doesn't always mean that things are going in the bad direction. Let me give you some examples. If all your miseries are annihilated, won't you be happy? If all your sorrows are driven away, won't you be happy? We all are anand bhaya abhyasat. We are all seeking happiness. And if all your children and all your relatives and your husband and wife and your spouse, they give up all bad things. So that's annihilation of bad things. Won't you be happy? If all bad things that are coming your way automatically get annihilated, won't you be happy? If all the miseries die for you, they don't exist for you at all, won't you be happy? So annihilation has to be looked from the right perspective, and that's what we are going to do. Shukdev Goswami talks about annihilation in this material world. So we'll be looking at those 4 categories of annihilation. And the last one we'll discuss is actually going to make us happy. So from the materialist perspective, Shukdev Goswami is preparing Parikshit Maharaj. Why is he preparing Parikshit Maharaj? Because Parikshit Maharaj had been cursed to die in 7 days. And this is very near to the 7th day that the time is coming. We are on the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the last canto. So Shukdev Goswami reveals that I have described to you, the measurement of time from the moment of an atom, which is the smallest duration, versus the life of Lord Brahma, who is the first living entity in this material world, and his day is the longest day. Now he is going to describe, he describes that, in one day of Lord Brahma, there are 1,000, Chaturyugas. So the day of Brahma is called Kalpa. And during this day, there are 14 Manus, they come and go. Now, when I heard about this come and go, sometimes it gets confusing. Sometimes people think of it as the lifespan of Manus is that duration. If you're looking from that perspective, no, it is like Manu is a position, right? And that on that position, people stay for a specific duration, about 70 some Chatur ages, the 4 ages. So after that, it's taken by someone else. So Swayambhava Manu, he served for 70 some, Chaturyugas, and then afterwards he took to, Vanaprastha life with his wife, and Vavaswata Manu, the son of Vivaswan, he became Manu. And we are in the reign of Vavaswata Manu at this time. So now, Shukdev Goswami is talking about annihilation. But this annihilation, we'll also be looking from the positive side. So Lord Brahma, after such a long day, right, if you have been working all day long for such a long day, then you must be very tired, right? So what happens is, Lord Brahma goes to sleep, and his night is also as long as his day. So what happens at that time? That all the 3 planetary systems, they are annihilated. So what are the 3 planetary systems? The heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and the hellish planets. So all of them are annihilated, and they merge into Lord Vishnu, who's lying, on Anantashesh. So everything merges into Lord Vishnu. Lord Brahma is on the lotus flower coming from his nab. That's why Lord Vishnu is also referred to as Padmanabh, because from his navel sprouts this lotus flower on which Lord Brahma is there. And then when Lord Brahma wakes up, his next day starts, everything comes back. So he starts creating this material universe again. So every day such a heavy thing is happening. From Lord Brahma's perspective, we always have experienced that we are very tired. After a long day, we go to sleep. So when we wake up in the morning, we feel fresh, we feel energetic, we feel recharged. So similarly, we souls, even though we are active, when we merge back into Lord Vishnu at the end of the day of Lord Brahma, we also get to recharge similarly. And the whole material universe, all the elements, they get recharged as well. So that's just one way of saying. Now this has, again, if you go into details, means we can kind of like understand that it is Lord Shiva who causes this annihilation. That's why he is called Rudra, right? So he is in charge of annihilation. So in this material universe, which is the secondary creation, Lord Brahma creates, Lord Vishnu maintains, and Lord Shiva annihilates. So it is Lord Shiva who is recycling everything for a new beginning. So when we look from that perspective, we have every night the experience that we go to sleep, next day we have a new beginning, we have a great opportunity, we thank Lord, right? And when we wake up, we call out to our deities, Shishi Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai, Shishi Gauranatai ki jai, Shishi Radha Damodar ki jai, and Jagannath Subhadra Baldev ki jai. So we call out to our deities when we wake up in the morning, and then we do our Guru Prati, and we say other prayers as part of our morning activities. And we feel very thankful to the Lord Shiva for this blessing that we can continue to serve Him. We have an opportunity, because when we don't have the material body and we are merged, so all the living entities, they merge in Lord Vishnu, we are in an inactive kind of state. So we are just waiting for that next opportunity to come out. So we are getting charged as well. So there are 4 kind of annihilations being discussed. The first one is occasional annihilation, which happens, we just discussed, at the end of a day of Lord Brahma. So every day at the end of the day, Lord Brahma needs recharging and the material universe needs recharging. So everything gets recycled at the end. And it's not a bad thing if you look at it from the perspective that everybody gets a fresh opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. That's also the second purpose of this material world. What's the first purpose? That living entities who want to enjoy away from Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, because they don't want to serve Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Bahir Mukhade, we have turned our back towards Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So we want to enjoy, the living entity wants to lord over this material nature. So that is the first purpose. To satisfy that need, Lord Kṛṣṇa very mercifully creates this material universe. So when I say Lord Kṛṣṇa creates it, I'm talking of primary creation. So he expands into the Purusha avatars, and it is the Mahavishnu who is lying in the causal ocean, and from whose pores come various universes, they appear, and from his breathing, from his exhaling they appear, from his inhalation they disappear. That's another level of annihilation. And now this annihilation is prakritik, total material annihilation, which happens at the end of the lifespan of Lord Brahma. So when 100 years of Lord Brahma's life are over, at that time this annihilation happens, which is also referred to as material annihilation. Now Shukdev Goswami gives a very nice description how this material annihilation happens in this world. So we'll quickly discuss that aspect as well. We're first covering the 4 kind of annihilation. Now the third one, again I'm changing the order, he is referred to as the 4th one, but I'm bringing the good one at the end, keeping the punchline. So he is talking about a constant annihilation that happens, which is Nityada. And this constant annihilation is within this material world that we living entities experience in the process of that transmigration from one material body to another, right? So when we are serving very nicely, carrying out our prescribed duties, but we have not taken to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, but we are at least carrying out our prescribed duties, then we elevate to heavenly planets. So that is pious people. And if we are sinful, we are impious, then we fall down to hellish planets. And if we become devotee, then we cross over this ocean of nescience, and we are able to go back home, back to Godhead. Now the moment I say that, that is the 4th kind of annihilation of our material existence. So that is the one that we really want to focus on by taking to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And we should take to Kṛṣṇa consciousness fully, not partially, because when we take to that, it is for us to annihilate all our miseries, annihilate all our distresses. We want to get out of this relativity of this material world, right? And that is only possible when we take to the shelter of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, who is absolute. There is no duality in his company. Everything is perfect. So to be able to get that perfection in our life, we have to make some endeavor. Which simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. So the solution is that the only boat suitable for crossing the ocean of material existence, which is otherwise impossible to cross, is the boat of submissive hearing of the nectarian pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is the hearing process, Sravanam. Just by submissively hearing, one can easily cross over this ocean of nescience. So there is a beautiful picture here in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this boat is Sankirtan boat, boat of Sankirtan Yajna, which is the Yajna for this age. And just by taking this boat, just by taking to submissive hearing of the name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, one can quickly cross over this ocean of nescience and attain to that fourth annihilation, which is actually liberation. Atyantika, right? So Atyantika refers to final annihilation, which is liberation, which comes with the awakening, which begins with the awakening of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Now, sometimes people read this particular verse and then its purport and they get a bit confused. So it is the destruction of our illusion, right? That we are thinking that this material world is meant for our enjoyment. No, it is actually meant for enjoyment of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. It is to be served, to please Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Everything that we have need to be dovetailed in his service. Lord Kṛṣṇa is Rishikesha. Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. So just by serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, in a favorable mood, or engaging all our senses, then our senses become happy. So we all want to be happy. And happiness we experience is through our senses. And our senses become happy when we serve Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So we have to awaken that relationship. We have to understand who are we. Sambandha, what is our relationship? We are living entities. We are spiritual beings. If we are spiritual beings, why should we have material experience? We want to have spiritual experience. We want to elevate ourselves to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So we want to drive in that manner. And Jivera Sarupoya Kṛṣṇa Nityadas. So what is our nature? That we are eternal servant of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And who is Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa? He is the Swatantra Purusha, right? Samvat. So he is the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Purusha also means enjoyer. So a master enjoys, the servant serves, and they both rejoice in that wonderful relationship. And we talked about this, that sometimes, rich people, they have servants in their houses. But the rich people, after, they wake up, the servants are serving them, and then as soon as these rich folks, they go to work, and the children have gone to schools, all the servants are enjoying the wonderful luxuries of the residence for the remaining part of the day. And when their masters come back home, they start back, doing the service. Yet at the same time, they are eating the same kind of food that the master is eating. In the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Rather, in the afternoon, they are cooking for themselves. If they are alone, just the servants, then they are really enjoying their life. So the life is blissful, even in the mood of servitude. And Lord Kṛṣṇa is so merciful that he is so willing to share his wealth. When you go to Vaikuntha Lok, right there, and he gives us these glimpses, even in this material world, that his loving exchange just with his devotees are, very pleasurable both ways. So much so that in Bhagavad Gita, he agrees to become Parthasarthi. So we celebrate him as Parthasarthi. He agrees to become charioteer for Arjuna. So that is also a very important aspect. That he is not looking that I am bigger and you are lower. He is a very affectionate father. And he takes up that position. Reminds me of the story of Prime Minister Gladstone of Britain. So once a delegate, he wanted to meet Gladstone, so he went to his office. The secretary says, please wait, he's busy. The Prime Minister is very busy. So the delegate waited for quite some time. It was almost an hour, so he became impatient. So the delegate went and opened the door of his Gladstone's office. So again, what does he see? He sees that the Prime Minister Gladstone is on the floor on his hands and knees. And there's a small boy riding on his back, right? So with that observation, the delegate could understand that this boy is the grandson of the Prime Minister Gladstone. And now this boy has this loving relationship, right? He's the grandson and Gladstone is the grandfather. Now the delegate, if you look at the qualification, and a delegate is a mature man, highly qualified, well educated, well dressed and so forth. The boy in front of him is just a boy. He's not well educated as this man. He's not as powerful as this man. He's not as influential. Yet he is riding on top of his grandfather because there is a loving relationship, right? And that's why, we have to understand that loving relationship is very essential. And after over 75 years of study by Harvard Business School, they did a research. They realized that happiness comes from having loving relationship. So the fortunate are people who are able to have relationship. So it's very important for us to have every relationship, nourish every relationship as loving relationship. We should always be in that mood. And how to develop loving relationship? The secret has been revealed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Dadati pratigrahanati guhyam akhyati prichati bhunjate bhojate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam. So these 6 processes, shatvidam, vidhi is like the process, priti lakshanam. These are the signs of loving exchanges. So what are the 6 loving exchanges? Dadati pratigrahanati, giving of gifts and accepting gifts. Guhyam akhyati prichati. So to discuss, to inquire about and to share confidential matters about the name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Right? So that is important. So they are coming in pairs, giving gifts, accepting gifts. So the devotees, they share that way lovingly. And they inquire as well as share the confidential matters about the name, form, activities, pastimes. Bhunjate bhojate chaiva. So by giving of prasadam and accepting prasadam. So these 6 exchanges are, loving exchanges, and they increase our affection towards each other in the devotional community as well as towards Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. And we all on this boat together. So when we are on the boat together, why not have fun together? Because even the materialists, they are looking to have fun. So there was this drunkard, as he was talking to his friend while drinking. So his friend said, if you drink, you will go to hell. So the drunkard said, well, my friend, my brother also drinks. So he says, he will also go to hell. He says, my sister also drinks. The man's friend said, your sister will also go to hell. He said, my father drinks. He said, he will also go to hell. My uncle drinks. Friend said, okay, your uncle will also go to hell. He said, my grandpa drinks. He will also go to hell. So this way, this drunkard was naming various people, various relatives who were also drinking, and the friend was telling that they will all go to hell. So at that time, the drunkard said, if you all are in hell, then it's not hell, it's heaven, because we are all rejoicing. We are drinking here and we are drinking there. So that is the fault in the outlook. Yet at the same time, we as devotees understand that when we are lovingly serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa together in this mood of cooperation and collaboration, then we all become happy because our Supreme Lord, our dear Lord, Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, Srimati Radharani, our mother, they are happy. So we are constantly serving, and one of the simple way that starts with the serving is Sravanam. Sravanam is through the chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So sometimes people ask, Is there a proof that Lord Kṛṣṇa is saying that He is going to deliver us from this ocean of nescience? Yes, there are many proofs in the scriptures. Teshamaham samuddhata mrityu sansara sagarat bhavamina chiratpatha maya veshita chetasam. So He is a swift deliverer from this ocean of, this material ocean of mrityu sansar. So this sansar, this material nature, is the material ocean is mrityu sansar. So there are people constantly dying. And the dying is in two manners. Some people are dying when they leave the body, and some people are dying when they are in the body. Right? Chinta and Chitta. So this is our 8th grade Hindi lessons, right? Where Chinta is like Chitta. Like Chinta only has an extra dot in it. And that dot makes all the difference because it's actually burning us, it's actually killing us every moment. While Chitta only destroys the body, burns the body after we have left the body. But Chinta burns us when we are still in the body. And it's also causing the body to burn, our senses to burn, which is very painful. And we want to annihilate all kind of anxieties. So when we take to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, then we rise above the 3 modes of material nature. Brahma Bhuta, we reach that state, we transcend the 3 modes of material nature. And what are the characteristics of one who is at Brahma Bhuta stage? Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Brahma Bhuta prasannatma. So at Brahma Bhuta stage, one is rejoicing, one is happy. Prasannatma. He is very satisfied and happy. Na shochati, na akankshati. Na shochati, he does not lament about the past, so he has no anxiety about what happened in the past. Na akankshati, he does not aspire for future, so he doesn't have any anxiety about the future, which has not come yet. Rather, a person in Brahma Bhuta state, what does he do? He is engaged in serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa in the present moment. That's why present moment is a gift. And we don't want to lose this gift in anxiety about past or future. Rather, we want to focus on our present in serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa here and now. So we have to be here now and understand our purpose. And what does a person at the Brahma Bhuta state performs? Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu. They are looking at all living entities with equal vision. Mad bhakti labhate param. Lord Kṛṣṇa says that such a person, such a elevated living entity who is at the Brahma Bhuta stage is engaged in my devotional service. So he is revealing to us what we have to do to get out of all this anxiety, this constant annihilation that's happening, transmigration within this material universe. So we have to be very, very, awakened to this fact that our only shelter is at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Samashita ye pad pallava plavam mahat padam punya yasho murare bhavam budhir vatsa padam param padam 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 yatave padam natesham. Samashita ye pad pallava plavam. So Lord Kṛṣṇa's lotus feet are like, their pada is feet, pallava padam. So they are like as soft as the lotus buds, and they are the perfect boat. Mahat padam punya yasho murare. So they are the cause of this material universe, as well as he is referred to as Murari, the killer of Mura demon, the enemy of Mura demon. Murari, Ari means enemy. Enemy of Murari. Bhavam buddhir vatsa padam parapadam. So he is also, so again when we refer to that, that he is also a shelter of all the great souls. And then bhavam buddhir vatsa padam param padam. So he is the cause of this material cosmic universe. And when we engage in serving him, then this ocean of nescience, this material ocean, reduces to the size of a calf's hoof print, right? So when a cow it makes a calf, which is, a baby cow, puts its hoof print in the mud, and during the rain there is small water that's collected. It's just a small hoof print. You can easily cross over it. There's nothing to worry about, right? And one can attain Param Padam. So one can attain the supreme abode, the spiritual abode, where there is no kuntha, no misery. That's why the spiritual world is also referred to as Vaikuntha, a place devoid of all kind of miseries. So there is no misery there. And one does not stay here where there is danger at every step. Padam padam yat vipadam natesham. Does not stay here where there is danger at every step. So that is a very important lesson for us to understand. Yet at the same time, Shukdev Goswami is speaking this to Parikshit Maharaj. Why is he speaking that? He is saying, you are worried about the transmigration of your body. But if you take to devotional service, then you get elevated beyond this material universe. Yet for the satisfaction of all the great scholars and Rishi Munis who are gathered there, he is revealing the various process of total material annihilation. So we'll quickly cover what is this total material annihilation that happens at the end of the day of Lord Brahma. So what happens during this total material annihilation is amazing. At the end of the day of Lord Brahma, sun becomes 10,000 times more powerful and it heats up this universe. So the whole earth is getting heated for 100, million years. So again, for so many years, it's getting heated up. And this constant heat is happening, which is evaporating all the water. But the heat is so strong that there is no rain happening. So after such scorching heat, what happens? This is the heat coming from up. But all the material universes, they are resting on the hoods of Lord Anantashesh. And now Lord Anantashesh, from his mouth, he starts emitting fire as well. So now you're not just getting heated from above, you're getting heated from below. So all the liquid, they are disappearing. So much so that the living entities, they start killing each other. Because they are so thirsty, they are killing each other to, eat each other and so many other things. Such an abominable state happens in this material universe. And this is not just happening on earthly planets, it's happening on heavenly planets, hellish planets, everywhere during this time. And so after that, for a whole long duration, for the same duration as the sun was heating, there is constant rain. So now there are multicolored clouds that gather in the sky, and the whole universe, like our universe, has this andakar shape, is filled with water because of the rain, as if it's like one big ocean. Everything is immersed in this water. So what has happened is, Lord Brahma, after he dies, most of the time, 99.9999999 so many, most of the time he returns back home, back to Godhead. So again, in the 4th canto, it's been given that all the rishis and the devotees, they merge into the body of Lord Brahma, and he goes back home, back to Godhead, along with all these other living entities who are great souls. While other living entities, they get annihilated in the process, while the devotees, when annihilated, are actually already liberated. So they don't feel the loss of body. It's like changing the dress for them. That they give up this gross material body and get spiritual body. And for devotees, it is thunder and lightning at the same time. So when you see thunder and lightning, right, when you experience, if you go outside and the clouds are thundering, what do you see first? What do you hear? Do you hear thunder first, or you see the lightning first? It's the lightning. When you are observing, you see first there is lightning, and after some time there is thunder. So similarly, devotees don't feel any pain when they give up their material body. They immediately get the spiritual body, right? And then the material body, that thunder happens. But there is no sense of pain. Now this is very bewildering, because materialists are constantly tormented with this thought of death, death, death all the time. And to them, it is like a mouse caught in the teeth of a cat. So that's how they are feeling. While devotees, they are like kittens, caught in the mouth of the mother cat, so we are completely relaxed because we know that our body will not face any of those pains. Rather, it will be an enlightening effect and we'll get our spiritual body and we'll go back home, back to Godhead. So if you want, just for that purpose, right, if you want to get rid of the miseries of this world, Jan Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukha Dosha Dudashtam, birth, death, old age and disease, these are the constant miseries in this material world, which is the effect of the constant Nityada annihilation, which is because of the transmigration from one material body to another. Please take to Kṛṣṇa consciousness if you don't want to face that. And it simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So here, Parikshit Maharaj is hearing this and he is rejoicing because for 7 days he has been constantly hearing the chanting of the holy name, the glories of the holy name, the glories of Lord Shri Krishna, name, form, activities, pastimes of great devotees like Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Gajendra and so forth, the Pandavas and Lord Krishna himself, his pastime for 125 years in the 10th canto, the whole 10th canto was dedicated on that. So simply with the knowledge with the sword of discriminating knowledge. So again, when we are engaged in devotional service, there are two children that devotional service has. One is knowledge, the transcendental knowledge, and the second is, what is the second one? Detachment. So again, these two enable us to get rid of, to break our ties from this material universe so that we can, three modes of material nature, the gunas. Guna also means ropes. So that we can go back home, back to Godhead, to our original position as eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna and enjoy a life of transcendental bliss, because we are also Satchitanand, we are also eternal beings. That's why the process of birth and death is very unnatural. Even getting old is very unnatural. And getting sick is definitely unnatural. So all these miseries are superfluous in their nature. So we should not get caught. Rather, we should understand that we are eternal soul and things related to body will happen because that's the nature of the body. But we have to quickly break our ties and go back home, back to Godhead. And this is possible when we cut off the ties, cut off these ropes of the three modes of material nature with the sword of discriminating knowledge, right? With the sword of transcendental knowledge, and become detached to this material world. But that detached doesn't mean that now that I am not enjoying this material world, so I got nothing to deal with it. No. Understand everything in relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. That is true understanding. And understanding that He is the true enjoyer and everything needs to be dovetailed in His service. So we should become more active than before. And we should start serving Him in various ways, right? And Sravanam Kirtan is the beginning, which is like the chanting of the holy name, the sharing of the name, form, activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the 9 process of devotional service. And then in Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami describes the 64 processes as one can engage in devotional service. In the 11th canto, Shukdev Goswami adds reading and writing as additional processes of devotional service. So we have to develop this realization of Lord Achyuta. Achyuta means one who never falls down. Rather, He is the swift deliverer. Tesham aham samudhata mrityu sansara sagara. He is the swift deliverer, our deliverer from this ocean of nescience. And we don't have to be, beaten by the waves of this material universe. Rather, all our miseries are annihilated when we take shelter of Lord Achyuta, one who never falls down. And that is the annihilation of material existence. That is the greatest blessing we can attain. And understanding this, Parikshit Maharaj is getting ready to understand that yes, Takshak can appear as soon as the 7th day ends and is going to take away the body, but I have to meditate on the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. And Lord Krishna reveals, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kale vayam yaha prayati samadbhavam yati nastatra samshaya antakale cha mameva. Whoever remembers me at the last moment of his life, then he will come back to me. He would not take again birth in this material universe. So, that is the process. We have to take to the process. Now let's discuss the material annihilation, right? The prakritika annihilation, which is like after the whole universe is filled with water, filled with, like appearing as completely immersed, like an ball, like an under, completely inside, it's all water. Why is it water? Because the water has taken away aroma of the earth, right? And when it takes away the aroma of the earth, then earth loses its characteristic. That's the reason of existence of earth. So it immediately merges into water. And then the fire takes away the taste of water. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, I am the taste in water. Right? So the fire, it takes away the taste of water, and that's the distinguishing characteristic of water. So as soon as the taste is gone, water merges into fire. And now fire has form, which has been taken away by the air. So air takes away the form, and so the fire loses its identity, its characteristic is gone, so it immediately merges into air. And air has the characteristic of touch. And the sky, ether, it takes away that characteristic of touch from the air. So air loses its characteristics, its reason of existence, so it merges into ether. Ether has the characteristic of sound. So false ego, under the influence of the mode of ignorance, tamoguna, it takes away that characteristic of sound. So when the characteristic is gone, the existence of ether becomes difficult. So ether merges into the false ego in the mode of ignorance. And then the senses, which are in the mode of passion, merge into the false ego in the mode of passion. Right? Aham. So thinking of I am this body, that's false ego. And demigods, so in the mode of goodness, merge into the false ego in the mode of goodness. And now the false ego, along with all the three modes, merge into Mahat Tattva, which was the initiating potency. But at the same time, Mahat Tattva merges into the three modes of material nature: the mode of goodness, Sattva Guna, mode of passion, Rajoguna, and mode of ignorance, Tamoguna. And then these three modes of material nature further merge into the original unmanifested Pradhan, which was triggered by time, right? So Lord himself as Purushavatar acted as time to stir this Pradhan, the potency, that's the mother potency expansion. So that's where we remember the material energy Pradhan, and that Pradhan is unmanifested, does not show the six characteristics, and is finally there, and everything merges into Lord Vishnu in this manner. So this is where we understand the material annihilation. So if you pay attention, is again with the breathing, everything is merges back into Mahavishnu at the end of a day of Lord Brahma. And every time he exhales from his breathing as well as from the pores of his body, all material universes, they come back into existence, and Lord expands further as as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And then the secondary creation starts with Lord Brahma. Sprout, the sprout happens from the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, where on the lotus Lord Brahma is born. That's why he's also called Aja, one who does not have a father and mother, material father and mother. And then he engages in his creative impetus, and Lord Vishnu becomes the maintainer, and Lord Shiva appears to become the annihilator at the end of the day of Lord Brahma. And the cycle continues. So this chapter is preparing Parikshit Maharaj for his final journey. But even before that final journey, he has actually taken the final journey of getting liberated. So he doesn't, has no fear of losing the body, because he understands that before that thunder happens of the strike of Takshak, the snake, the bird snake, the lightning will happen, just like it has been revealed in the scriptures that he would get a spiritual body, which he does get, and he goes back home, back to Godhead. So that will happen later on, but the lesson for us is that we have to get the same level of liberation and annihilate our material existence, understanding everything in relationship with Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa and engaging in devotional service. Hare Krishna, please join us for Narasimha prayers. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.